What is going on, everybody? Rowdy Rooster 79 here. Thanks for joining the broadcast for the first night of the United States All-Star Racing League, coming to you from limaland and sugarbush. Tonight we have the sprints. Wednesday night we have late models, and we're just showing, well, I'm showing off my car right here while we wait for the boys to get done. Well, boys and girl, I believe we have a female in the field tonight. Get ready for them to start their qualifying, and then once they're done with their qualifying, we'll go ahead and we'll jump in and start broadcasting from the track. I will be joined here pretty soon with a buddy of mine. He's going to help me out tonight. So it's going to be short track racing, and it's our first night, so I'm going to start to try to get used to everything tonight. And I hear he just joined in. I'm joined by my friend Dirt Track Jesus. You there, Dirt Track?
Yes, sir. What's happening?
All right, so tonight we're at limaland and sugarbush. There's no denying it. You are one of the fastest guys on this game. So my question to you for tonight at limaland, what slider do you run and why?
So typically I run 12. The only reason I run 12 is it feels better to me when you're going into the corner. You just kind of tap the brake a little bit, run that bottom. You get grip, and it's a lot quicker. Some of these guys, you know, they can run the high side on a looser setup. But initially what it comes down to is whatever you can run consistently, that's what you got to run tonight, and that's going to be a big factor for some of these guys is trying to dial it in, and then seeing what they can do in the main event here.
Well, you mentioned the word consistency. Running public lobbies on some of these longer races, even just 50% races, it seems like if you're just consistent and stay out of trouble, you can get yourself a pretty good finish. You think that'll be the possibility tonight? Just stay consistent, survive, and then finish up there in the top 5?
Yeah, I mean, the guys starting on the front row are going to have the better advantage. Obviously, because they're out there, they can get a better jump. If you're on the inside, you know, the key is going to be able to hook up. And if you can hook up before the guy on the outside or the guy on the inside, you know, it's going to come down to getting into turn 1, hooking up, and getting out of 2. You know, it's the consistency factor. You stay consistent after that, you know, you can take a walk, but the problem I'm going to see is probably going to be lap traffic on this track. That's going to play another big factor with the consistency thing because you're not always going to get your line when you're coming up on lap traffic. So it's gonna come down to who can pass better. You know, if you got guys top 4 running side by side going 4 wide, it's gonna be a rough challenge for those guys to stay. And, you know, somebody's going to have to back out just to keep your line.
And thinking that tonight's the first night, everybody's going to want to get as many points as they can right off the bat. I have a feeling we're probably going to see some slide jobs going bad tonight. And since we are in the sprints, I have a feeling we might see a couple cars upside down tonight, and maybe some feelings might get hurt tonight.
Yeah, that's a possibility, especially for those guys running those looser setups. You know, if they try hitting that inside, going past a lap car, they're not used to that inside line. They're used to the high side. So what's going to happen is they're going to dive it in there, and it's just going to wash right up the track, and you're likely going to connect with that lap car or the wall.
Yeah.
So.
And the bad thing is those walls, they're standing completely still, but they seem to jump out at you pretty hard in this game.
Yeah, they do. That and those mine tires on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
Those will get you.
Yeah, we were racing at, I believe it was Vegas last night. I think you were in there with us. And somebody hit one of those tires, ended up on the exit of turn 4 by the end of the race. It was in the exit of turn 2. So hopefully one of those tires, I don't know if we have those tires that will be able to jump up on the track tonight, but that is something if if you get a tire on the track, you're going to have another obstacle there. We are currently right now waiting for them to get done qualifying. As soon as they do get done qualifying, dirt track, Jesus and I will jump in there. So we're just going to try to fill space and time right now.
Yeah, and that, like you said with the whole obstacle thing, in this game, going forward, they did release in the update for those of you guys that do play. The next update that comes out, the mine tires, when the caution comes out, they will reset. But for now, you do have to, if they end up on the track, you got to kind of work around them. And again, that's another factor with the consistency part. So it's going to be an avoidance thing, and trying to stay off of other guys, going around them, and it's going to be interesting.
One of the things that is interesting for us people that are on console, people that are on computers or PCs, they have had iRacing and they've had different game options. But now we actually on console have a very great game, and I'm actually looking up close at the rear end of the car, and the attention to detail on this game is absolutely amazing. It looks like looks almost like a 4-bar suspension. I gotta say, they did such a great job on this game. I mean, yes, it is video game, but it's I don't want to sound weird and say it's a delight, but for our console players, we are getting really spoiled, I think, with this game.
Well, and I have to agree with you, especially being somebody that, as I was telling you earlier, I had my own iRacing setup and everything, and, if you go and look at an iRacing car, like a super late model, and you come over here and you look at one of these, I mean, they're identical. And it's amazing how they were able to get that on a console, with all the, the pixels and all that stuff. There's a lot that goes into it, but to get it to where the console can actually handle that much, it's impressive. And that's one thing I will say, that, iRacing and Monster Games, getting this game out fairly quick, they did a really good job at that. And then also the 100% race at Fairbury, and you can tell. I mean, you might not see it in picture-wise, but when you're driving these cars on the tracks and long periods of time, you can tell that track, certain lines start to wear out quicker, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another good thing, and great thing about this game is it's probably over time it's going to get more realistic, but what they have right now, if they never changed a thing, I'd be happy with it.
I agree. I agree with you. Yeah, I'll tell you what, since I got this game, I've had this game, I don't know, a week and a half. Usually I play a lot of Call of Duty, Warzone, and whatnot. I have not touched a single game since I purchased this. I mean, and there are certain things that could be better, but I mean that's with absolutely anything that you get. I mean, just little things like off the starts, how the cars take off to the right. I appreciate that realism, but maybe make it so that way when you come out of turn 2, the cars will actually start to steer towards the right or the left a little more, so that way restarts ain't so hectic. Maybe that'll help.
And I agree with you too, but I have noticed, like on your bigger half-mile tracks, 3/4-mile tracks, your slider too, or if you're running one of those custom setup guys, the way that you set your car up actually plays a big factor in that. Mm-hmm. So if you're running a looser setup, that car's going to want to swing right off the start, and it's going to do what you're talking about. It's going to pull to the right. So, and that's one thing that, like, on the bigger tracks, you want to run a tighter car anyway, so that way you can keep the car as straight as possible. That's where you get your consistent times, your speed, and the ability to get around the track in the quickest way possible. But what I do is a lot of times on bigger tracks, I run anywhere from 37% to all the way tight. It just depends on the track, and that also helps alleviate a lot of that pull that they put in here to make it realistic.
Right.
But the problem is if you're not a guy that's used to running, or somebody used to running that tighter setup, it can affect your whole race, and you might not go anywhere because you're not used to it. So.
Yeah, maybe make it so that way that pull to the right or the left, if you're running sliders, doesn't exist. But for us guys, I mean, I personally, I prefer custom setups. But for a custom setup lobby, maybe have that pull to the left or right.
Yeah, and that might be something they may be able to do as the developers in the game, giving the makers of the game, these tips and tricks on, things to do. I have seen that a couple of guys that I watch that kind of contact these guys that made the game, they have mentioned that a couple times to them. As far as them doing anything with it, I haven't seen anything that they're going to be doing anything with that, though. But maybe, down the road. Again, this game's new. It's been out for, what, a month or so now?
Yeah, about that.
So, it's still a new game, so there's a lot to be done. But, overall with the game, I say, I'm happy with it. I'm just like you are, or, everybody else that runs it, obviously, or they wouldn't be playing it. Go in and kind of play the game like, okay, well, this is a problem here, and then that's where your patches and updates come in.
Well, I just got the go ahead, so I am going to invite friend. There you are, sending you your invite, and I'm gonna jump in. Did you get that invite?
Yes, sir, I am coming now.
Okay. So here we go. We're jumping in. Limaland, the first race of the season for the United States All-Star Racing League. The sprint cars are out there. They have started. We're going to jump in here in just a moment. One thing that I wish they also would do, since in any racing game, leagues are a huge deal. I wish that they had a free-floating camera, as right now looks like Herbie Lovebug is leading. Yes, that is Herbie Lovebug in first. Switch cameras here. There we go. So Herbie right now is like he's running about middle groove, coming in, starting the low side, maybe running a little bit of a diamond there.
Yeah, it kind of looks like he's trying to stay up away from those tires, as we had mentioned earlier. It kind of looks like these guys are going to be staying up there, but as you see, some of the guys behind them are also running that high line right above or below where that dark stuff is up there. They're trying to get it to grip a little bit, but this is a 30-lap race. They're early on. Anything can happen at this point. You got Ousley right there behind Herbie, and then you got a couple guys right behind them. You got Joe Stroker that's right behind him in third. Joe's in fourth. Looks like somebody just took out a cone. Couldn't see quite who that was.
We're about to have a battle for the lead as Ousley's going to try to slide underneath Herbie. There they come off of turn 4, and they are going to be almost side by side. Oh, and this is going to be a good race. It looks like Ousley's maybe running that low line a little bit better than Herbie right now.
Yeah, and another thing that plays a factor too, if you can Ousley just
the
wall and caught the tire, and he's upside down. There's the car that went up. That's one of the cars that went upside
Yep.
down. And that's a problem. Like I said, with running that inside, if you mess up just a bit or enter too low, you hit one of those tires, you're done. But we'll see if he can make up the ground here on Herbie as it comes.
Oh, we got somebody else. Somebody else hit, and that was what's that say? Bug Snort. He caught a tire too, and we got Herbie coming up on him. He's about to lap him. So we're just trying to find some battles here right now on the track.
Yeah, and you got who is that up there in front of him? You got Jim Payne right up in front of him.
Ooh.
He's kind of struggling a little bit. I think he might be on the looser end of things. And he's, making contact with the wall. That's typically a sign of being a little too loose. He's trying to get it to stick on that inside, but it ain't quite working for him.
And now we got Herbie. He's getting ready to do some lapping here. He's getting, yep, there he goes around G-Buck. So already some lap traffic coming into play here, but right now it looks like Herbie, he's got himself one heck of a lead. Oh, and Herbie trying to get around the lap cars, finds the wall, and we've got a crash in turns 1 and 2. Maybe some tempers flaring up already here, dirt track.
Yeah, that's a good possibility. When you're running on a quarter-mile track, this tight racing, you get some issues there, and unfortunately these things aren't cheap. So, people are gonna get pretty hot, especially if they think they're running they're running decent, they're staying consistent, staying out of people. Usually just took out a mine tire again, shot up into the high side wall there, going into, was that 3? Nope, that was 1 and 2. But yeah, in close racing, you're gonna have that. There's really not much anybody can do. It's just one of those things that comes out of close racing.
And right now it looks like Herbie, he's just got himself a really comfortable lead. Is trying to get back to him. Yeah, he's got himself over a straightaway lead. I don't know how many laps are left in the race, but Herbie is absolutely just pulled away here in this opening race.
Yeah, he's got a good line there. If you watch, he's going in about middle, or entering on the low side, and he's coming out in the middle and high. That's a good line to run to keep your momentum, but might screw you a little bit if you slide up the track and hit the wall. Again, it's one of those things. If you're consistent doing it, do it. If you're, comfortable with it, that's a line you got to run to get things done. So, and as we mentioned earlier, this is the first points race, so be looking for quite a few guys to be bumping heads and running things down.
And I don't know if we have a caution on the track or what, but it looks like Herbie is really slowed down. I think we might have a caution on the track. Either that or the race is over.
That could be too. Again, it was a quarter mile, so the race might have been over there.
Yeah, I think the race is over. So yeah, if we could get a lap counter for this, that would be great. Monster Games and iRacing.
Yeah, that would be another helpful tip.
That would be.
So you got Herbie 1, Ousley 2, Joe 3, Stoker looking 4, Gravel 5 maybe?
Yep, Gravel was 5th. We'll get the, well, I guess qualifying would add into this coming up. But so that was a pretty quick race. As we're going to back,
yes, it was.
We'll back out of this right now. Leave the
yes,
lobby.
Sir.
But taking anything from what we just saw, it looks almost like a NASCAR race right now where you get the lead and you're just going to run with it. But we did almost have that battle for the lead. Uzi was underneath him for about 2 laps. He hit the tire and it was all over after that.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's something that can make your day go from bad to worse, or if you're doing good and you're running up there with the leader as it was, that's just something that can put you into a permanent second place finish if you guys are far enough ahead, or even a worse position. But he got lucky, was able to get back into the running and hold his position for the remainder of the race.
All right, so after I'm sorry, I'm trying to message Herbie right here, tell him good job with the win. There we go. So one thing I'm also going to take away from that is lap traffic. It came into play a little bit there, but it seemed like Herbie was fast enough that he really didn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, and those guys did a good job too of making sure they stayed out of his way. For the most part, I didn't really see too many problems with Herbie there. He was able to get around him, and the communication or the signaling or the awareness of these guys when they're getting lapped is pretty good, and it's a good thing that they have that awareness, so they're not causing a big incident and costing the leader the race, because that could be a problem.
Yeah, one thing they might want to do is put on, I don't know if they're running strict cautions or what they're running, but we saw two cars, I think it was, go upside down, or at least from our views, they went upside down. And that could make the race a lot more interesting, is if you regroup that field. Sometimes it could lead to disaster, sometimes better racing. It's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah, I mean, you might have those guys in qualifying that maybe missed that setup a little bit or, ran the wrong slider. And then, they corrected it in that main event, and they're in the back of the pack. That caution could give those guys a potential to win in the race. And that would be a big factor and make it more interesting and closer racing for these guys, I feel, on my end. There's a couple things that I think that would help. Like you said, the strict cautions. And then, again, with the qualifying thing, I don't know how these guys are running it. I don't know if they're giving themselves room. I don't know if these guys are giving themselves room or not, but that could also play a factor in it too.
Right. Yeah, so many things that come into factor. A lot of us, excuse me, a lot of us that are coming over from the NASCAR, we're used to when we're bunched up, we have a lot of grip because those cars produce so much grip. And on here, on these dirt track games, a lot of these people are not understanding yet that when you go flying into a corner, you slide up the track a lot. And that
yeah, it's not very forgiving on dirt.
No, it's not. I mean, you could go and bump one guy and that's fine, but then if he goes and bumps another guy and then he bumps another guy, and that one little bump, because you went in the corner too hard, ends up taking out a whole bunch of good cars. I know the other night we were practicing and you were walking away from everybody. We were there at Sugarbush. And
yeah.
I went from third place to the back, raced my way up to third place again, got hit, went all the way to the back, and then I finished seventh. But it was, one of those things where I definitely had a top three car, and then because one or two guys wanted to go flying in there, and it was no big deal. It was just practice night, so I don't want to sound like a crybaby. But
Right.
it's aggravating when you put that much time into something and you end up getting knocked out.
Well, see, and that's my big thing with running these public lobbies. I mean, you get some of these guys that are known for just throwing it in there and wrecking you. But again, like in my standpoint with the supers, I'm pretty quick, really, in anything. But I got more experience in the supers than I do really any other class at this point. A lot of the tracks, I've gotten my line down, my consistency down, and angles for speed and all that stuff. So when you're running, in my position, a track, and you can run a quick time and get up front, that plays a factor. But then you got to watch those guys that are waiting as lap cars. Because 9 times out of 10 in public lobbies, you'll get guys that when they get taken out, they'll just wait and then they'll just start wrecking people. But that's where your defensive driving basically has to come in here, and you got to be able to maneuver around them. Sometimes it's pretty hard, but it can be done.
Oh yeah,
So,
we've all had experience with that, and what makes it really interesting is when you're trying to win a race, plus be a defensive driver to win a race and get around those wrecking guys. And speaking of that, I don't know if anybody watches it on YouTube, but the channel We're Gonna Lose, the guy that just goes in and wrecks people all the time, he's actually got some videos out now of the World of Outlaw game.
oh, does he?
Yeah.
I'll have to go check those out. I haven't kept up on any of his videos. I used to watch him, but I haven't recently checked up on him.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Well, and another thing too, as you mentioned, from a lot of guys coming over from Heat 4, or whatever the case may be, a NASCAR asphalt game. When you come into dirt, a lot more throttle control and brake is going to be a big factor in your success in this game. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't get your throttle control down, and you just go wide open into a corner, you're not going to get any grip. I learned very early on in the previous games that had come out for dirt track racing, throttle control is going to be your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I'm so quick and able to, kind of help people out and be like, look, do this and run your line. Don't change your line. Stay in your line, but do this. These guys will get 4 or 5 tenths faster. And then they're like, it's that easy?
Yeah.
It's just, it's the easy things that, and simple things that you overthink that make the biggest difference. And another thing that I've seen too in this game is some custom setups on certain tracks. I can outrun them with a slider.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're early on in the game and whatnot, but from what I've seen, I don't think custom setups are going to affect anything that much.
Well, the thing that
To be
I've
honest.
discovered with custom setups is it's the stability of the car. When you come out of the corners, the car doesn't want to go either A, up towards the wall, or B, down towards the bottom of the track. It doesn't really add a whole lot of speed. It adds more of the stability. So if you're somebody that's already got a lot of stability control in your experience, yeah, it ain't gonna. You may gain a tenth or maybe 2 tenths, but which is a
Yeah,
lot. But you also got to
it
be really
is.
consistent with that too. And consistency, like you said earlier, is a huge part of this.
Yeah, if you're not consistent with the whole thing on the custom setups, that tenth or 2 tenths more consistent than you are, guess what? I'm gonna pass you. You
Right.
know, and that's a big thing that people don't understand.
I'm going to invite you in here. They never let me know that they were in, so hopefully we didn't miss too much of this race.
They're
You should be,
slacking.
yeah, you should be getting your invite here, or maybe they. Oh no, never mind. I didn't see it. They should just now be getting going. So
Okay,
here at
yeah, I'm coming in now.
Sugarbush, so one thing about it is we got people that are running both Monday nights and Wednesday nights. I really don't think it's going to matter because it's two completely different things. But do you think people will be able to take away from tonight and put that into the late models?
Yes, I think they will. Just coming from my standpoint as somebody that races multiple series, you can kind of figure out a line in one course or
Oh,
one
Strucker
class.
Ace just dumped Uzi. Oh man, sorry for interrupting, but that was huge.
Yeah, I seen that out of the corner of my eye. uh, but and the line is pretty much going to be the same in some classes. Now, if you're running a 360 sprint and you're going up to the World of Outlaws, the super late models,
Mm-hmm.
the line's going to be different. So it really depends on what classes you're running. But with these guys running the 360s and the pro lates, they will be able to run similar lines. When I run these classes at every track, when I run those two classes, I run the same line for both classes. Slider's different because each car handles different. But as far as line and consistency, you can pretty much run the same line and stay just as consistent. So.
Well, speaking of consistent, we have the same guy up front again. We have Herbie Lovebug, 15, up in the front, but he is being pursued pretty heavily right now by Stroker Ace. But it looks like no, it looks like Strucker Ace, he ran that inside line a little better, but he better be sending an apology to Uzi because that was a pretty harsh hit that he put on him in 1 and 2 a few laps ago.
Yeah, that was a pretty gnarly hit. But if you're watching Stroker, if you look how he's kind of entering a little higher than Herbie is, that gives him the better run coming out of the corner because he's carrying that momentum. Herbie's kind of down on that bottom in and out, so he's kind of sliding up and he's losing momentum. You know, by the time you slide from the bottom to the middle of the track, it's 15 feet. You've lost 40, 50 miles an hour because you've got no grip. So you can't maintain. So and that's where Stroker's coming in and, you know, getting on his inside. But it looks like Herbie just hooked up. So
the whole thing about dirt track racing is making your car go straight as much as possible.
And go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's going to be the main thing in this, and it looks like I think Stroker's going to get him. He's being more consistent. I think hitting Uzi, and we know Stroker's not a dirty driver. Stroker is a good driver. He's clean. It was just an accident. Sure. So I think he's probably trying to be a little bit more cautious while he's up here running with Herbie.
Yeah.
So, but I think Herbie, he keeps leaving that bottom open. I think Stroker's probably going to get him here within the next 5 laps. I have no idea how many laps are left, so he might want to hurry up and get that done.
It looks like he's getting ready to put a slider on, or try to anyway. He's looking for every opportunity to gain that inside line to take it away from Herbie.
Yeah, and Uzi's not that far. It looks like Uzi's actually starting to catch them a little bit, so we'll see if maybe there's some tempers there, or if Uzi realized, hey, that was an accident. It's the first night, I'll let that slide.
Yeah, you know, you would hope so. I mean, you know, things do happen. Now, whether it was an intentional or not, I mean, that's going to be between Stroker and Uzi himself.
Oh, and here we go. Stroker to the inside as they come down the back. Is that the backstretch? Yeah, backstretch. And Uzi with the lead. I'm trying to... Here we go. And Stroker with the lead. I said Uzi, sorry. Stroker with the lead over Herbie. And just as I said, I thought he was going to get it. And Herbie's to the inside now, but Herbie just took that inside way too quick. And that's going to allow Stroker to pull away a little bit here.
Yeah, I think that's going to do it too. Because like you said earlier, Stroker's more consistent. He's staying really consistent on that line. So... there he kind of ran a little higher, which when you get a lead you can do that, or if you got a guy on the inside you can do that. And on this track with that middle line on the exit, as you can see here, he had more momentum going out, so he was able to maintain that lead.
And right there Herbie had a chance to try to make something, but that inside wall just came at him too quick. But we may have a slide. I tell you what, Herbie's getting pretty close to a slide job territory as ahead into turn 3. But if you notice, going into turns 1 and 2, Herbie looks a lot more confident than Stroker does.
Yeah, I mean, Stroker right now, I think he's stuck up on that high side because he doesn't want to run him down, Herbie down into that inside wall. And you know, as somebody that runs this track or any track in general, that's kind of something that you want to be mindful of, is that guy on the inside or outside of you. You don't want to push him down too much and make him mess up, because then that could cost you both the race.
Oh, and Herbie went in way too hard there. They might be getting down to the nitty-gritty here. And sometimes you see that inside line. It looks really good. It's kind of like Sam Adams. It looks like a really good decision until you do it. And then, oh, no. And we have Herbie taking the lead back from Stroker Ace as they get to the start-finish line. Oh, and Herbie got stuck on the wall. And I'm guessing that's going to be close. That might have sealed the deal right there. As now we even have a lap car between them. So that might have sealed the deal.
I think that did, and I want to say they're coming down probably within the last few laps here of this race. So I think Stroker's going to have it sealed here. He's pretty well taken off, and especially with that lap car in between him and Herbie now, it's going to be hard for Herbie to get back up there.
Well, Herbie now puts the slide job on. Herbie right back, and Stroker in the wall. Oh, man.
Herbie with that inside touch.
Heavy contact.
Coming to the line.
Man, I wish we knew how many laps were left in this. I can't believe Herbie came back that fast. I mean, and that's nothing against Herbie. It's just I thought that was sealed. Maybe Stroker got a little too confident in himself there. But right
Yeah, because
now, whew,
typically when you get sucked into that wall, it's not really forgiving at all.
no, there's no forgiveness in that wall.
No.
As Stroker's maintaining on the high side, though. This is a great race. This is race number 1, folks. This is just race number 1, and look how hard they're going at. Oh, no. Herbie in the wall.
Yeah, I want to say. I wish we knew how many laps were left. That would help out a lot.
I'm guessing they're within 5. I would think that they're within, because I think it's a 30-lap event. And Herbie's sliding up the track.
No, that was it. Herbie got him at the line.
That was the
Holy
race.
Cow.
So Herbie with the win. Great job. Herbie goes 2 for 2 on the night. Win at limaland and here at Sugarbush. We'll let them settle down a little bit and talk in the lobby. Then we'll invite Herbie in here to discuss the night. A very successful night. 2 wins. Can't complain about that. So I'm going to back out of here.
Me too, and I will be right back in just a second.
Alrighty. So great job to Herbie Lovebug on getting those wins tonight. We will try to get him in here. Let's see here. Invite players. It's been a while since I've done this, so as we await the arrival of Herbie Lovebug 15, who went 2 for 2 tonight, winning both limaland and winning at Sugarbush. And there we have the winner of both races tonight. Congratulations, Herbie Lovebug. How about that? You got to feel pretty good about that, don't you? Yeah, we came in a couple of laps late into that first race, and it looked like you had a pretty comfortable lead. I can't remember, Uli, I think it was in second. He caught a tire, and you just pulled away. But I tell you what, that last race there at Sugarbush, you have got to take us through those last few laps, because we thought you were done. Yeah, it looked like you were a lot faster in 1 and 2. So, question for you, what slider were you running, and are you glad you ran that slider? All the way tight. Do you think that will affect us Wednesday night? Well, yeah, we were watching you, and you made contact with that outside wall, and like you stuck on the wall. And I was telling my colleague in here, I said, well, that's it. That's probably the race right there. And then out of nowhere, you went around the 69 lapped car, and in 1 lap, you were side by side again. So take us through your thoughts. Did it seem like maybe Stroker got a little too confident there and checked up a little too much?
Yeah, that inside's pretty quick around that track.
And there's Dirt Track there. Dirt Track helped me out tonight, and excuse me. And yeah, like I said, we both thought, once you rubbed that wall, the race was over, and then you came out of nowhere, and we're both losing our minds, going, "Holy cow, we got a race again!" So we didn't know how many laps were left because there's not that ticker. But how did you pull that off coming out of turn 4 on the last lap? Well, what did Stroker have to say about that? I mean, it was clean. There was no dirtiness. Was he happy for you? That's
Yeah,
good. And I gotta tell you something, man. That was for the first race of the season. That was definitely exciting. Dirt track. Do you have anything that you want to add or ask?
yeah, you guys had a very clean race there, and looked like you were a little more consistent down there on the bottom than he was up on that top there. The way he was running. Um, how'd you feel coming into this race with the guys that you guys run against in here? Yeah, that's probably one of the bigger things, and as I was telling him earlier, consistency is a big factor in here. Um, what made you run the slider that you ran? Okay. Yeah. Well,
Well,
congratulations tonight, and we'll see you next week.
I'll tell you what, it was a great, successful night. That first race a little boring, but I tell you what, the drivers that you've assembled in here, Herbie, you and Stroker, you guys have obviously done a great job, and hopefully tonight was a show of things to come. And I think we can definitely make something out of this. So, congrats you. Yep, and it was clean. Uzi and Stroker did come together a little bit, but it's like Dirt Track and I said. We all know that Stroker is a very clean driver, and sometimes things happen. It's just the way it is. But
Yeah, I thought Usley was going to come back at him there, but he didn't. He didn't bring no retaliation.
no,
Circa was able to kind of pull away there.
I don't know if I'm friends with him. I'll check, but I will definitely. Yeah, if you can invite him in here, we could definitely talk to him. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that last race, that Sugar Bash race, man, that was a good race you guys put on. That was nerve wracking.
It was.
As we await now for Stroker Ace to join us. He's second place. Had the lead, looked like he had it locked up, and then out of nowhere, Herbie Lovebug running that bottom, doing that bottom feeding just like Tony Stewart does in the sprint cars. He came back and got the win. So we're very curious to see what Stroker Ace has to say about that. Looking like he had it locked up, and then bam, nada.
Yeah, I was pretty confident after Herbie got into the wall there. I didn't think Herbie was coming back from that because, like I said before, that wall is not very forgiving.
Nah, and Herbie, you could correct us if we're wrong, but it looked like you were probably about a full tenth and a half back, maybe even 2 tenths. Maybe Stroker got off already. Maybe he got off the game. That's all right.
Yeah, probably did.
Well, we're going to sign off here. If you bet. Thank
Yep,
you. I appreciate it. And anybody that watches, remember, Monday nights and Wednesday nights. I will be on here Monday nights doing the broadcasting. Wednesday nights, somebody else will have to do it. But tell your friends about us. Join in. Just a bunch of good old boys having some fun. Congratulations again. Herbie Lovebug going 2 for 2 on the first night. Be interesting to see what he can do Wednesday night and what happens Wednesday night when we run the pro late models at limaland and sugarbush. So we will see you on Wednesday. All right. Well, you bet. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.